Greetings, humans. Yes, indeed. I know we have never figured this out, and if we ever do, we'll be toast. Welcome to the Witches Movie Coven. Yes, witches, talking about witches in movies. We have a fabulous, to me, classic movie for you today. Death Becomes Her. Yes, fabulous people, fabulous in it. But before we get there, let's introduce ourselves. I am one of your hosts. I am Patti Negri, Black Phillip, Bling Phillip, and look at this fabulous new outfit made by Heather Greene. These were our holiday gifts. This is Witches Brew for my Witches Brew newsletter. It's great. Anyway, I am Patti Negri. You might know me from this, from The Witching Hour, my podcast, from Ghost Adventures, from Portals to Hell, to Ghost Finders, to, as I always say, bathroom walls across America. But let me pass this on to my co-hosts and let them, starting with Jason, introduce themselves as well.
Oh, I'm Jason. I've written a bunch of books. This is one. It just happens to be by my desk. I don't know. I'm just here to celebrate Richard-Lael's birthday.
Yes, indeed. Okay, Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Greene. I'm the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. Here it is. I am a journalist in the area of witchcraft and the occult, as well as an author at Llewellyn Worldwide. And I am also here to ring in the new year and to celebrate Richard-Lael's birthday.
Yes, and now we're going to get all the way back to the birthday boy himself. Some of you were able to go to the slumber party yesterday. Some of us weren't, but we do want to wish you happy birthday, Richard-Lael.
That would be me. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were Richard, I would be a. With that, I am known as the Gentleman Psychic. I am seen sometimes in Ghost Adventures. Sometimes you might see me in a background of some sitcom or a show. That's been for a while, but I still get comments about that. I am here in New Orleans. I am excited for tonight's movie because as much as I love the Addams Family, this is probably equal to it. So not to give anything away, but you know how I'm going to vote because I picked this film.
Yes, this was his birthday pick, and I'm so glad. It was a perfect birthday pick. Now, Courtney may look a little different to everyone today. Courtney is actually feeling a little under the weather. So we have our favorite, most common guest, beautiful costume designer, Chad Everett, or Chadley the Magnificent, which that came down, I don't know what it was, or Chad Hatter. Welcome. Thank you for coming today, Chad. What's new with you?
I'm so happy to be here. Happy birthday, Richard-Lael. When I woke up this morning, the walls were weeping blood and the dogs outside were forming into packs. And I said, it's Richard-Lael's birthday. I'm so happy to be here. I hope I'm able to occasionally interject something good, but I'm currently in the middle of a project that is due this weekend. I'm covering a pair of shoes with rhinestones. So we're going to see how far I get by the end of the show. So thank you all for having me. And I'm actually wearing a shirt that was a gift from y'all. It says Internationally Ignored Cosplayer. So I've got that going for me.
It's beautiful. Fabulous. Thank you as well. So yes, Death Becomes Her. But before we get there, before we get to the fun and games, of which this is, happy first day. We do want to wish everybody Happy New Year. We may be in for quite a ride on this, but we are magical people. Let's turn it into the year we want. But it did start out with a rough road. We want to send out some love to the people in New Orleans. Tragedy started this very year. So whether you want to do a spell, you want to do a moment, you want to do a prayer, you want to send some good thoughts out to everybody in our beloved New Orleans right now. I don't know if they're still even on lockdown right now.
I heard that the street is still closed. So I mean, I haven't been out of my house, but I've heard that the street is still closed.
Okay. And yes, we send love to you because you live there in that fine city. And we're glad that you were not on Bourbon Street at that time. And love to those. So everybody let's take a 15-second moment of silence. Okay, that was a powerful, because we're all witches, so we don't just sit there quiet. I love that. I went, oh, feel that. Look at that. So anyway, let's move on to Death Becomes Her. Oh, I'm hearing things. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's my thing. So, I watched it the other night for the first time in a long time. Again, love the movie personally. I'm not going to give that away, but in case any of you out there, thank you guys. The chat room again. I'm getting a really slow start. It's the first day of the new year. I was out really late. Thank you guys. Chat room. Keep it chatting. But in case somebody did not see or recently see Death Becomes Her, Richard-Lael, do you have your always fabulous, unbiased synopsis of this film?
I am going to be as unbiased as I can be since I chose this film, and I watch it at least once a week. I I know I get a little obsessive over this film. It is the story about a pair of frenemies, Madeline Ashton and Helen, and they are always at each other's throats. It begins in 1972 on Broadway, where they are doing a stage musical production of Tennessee Ernie Williams' play, The Sweet Bird of Youth, about an aging actress who ends up by seeing a man witch. Anyway, that's a side note to the story. So as sort of a test, Helen has brought her new fiance, Dr. Ernest Manville, to see this play with Madeline Ashton. And it's a test. If he can pass this test, this is someone that I will marry, because so many times, so many people have failed, and time again, this is sort of like, please let this be the one. Please let this be the one. And she goes backstage to meet Ashton, Madeline Ashton. And of course, they have these nicknames back and forth, Mad Hell, which is funny. But they meet, and instantly, Dr. Ernest Melville is enamored with and in love with, if that can exist instantly, with this actress. And then, of course, it cuts to the fact that they're now in the apartment, and Dr. Ernest Manville is going off to meet Madeline, and he's explaining, it's just dinner. She wants my advice. There's nothing to it. And Goldie Hawn's character of Helen is saying, please, just please, don't fail. Well, you cut again, and you find that Madeline Ashton and Dr. Ernest Manville are getting married. And then it jumps a time leap into the future, where she is now a crazy cat lady, and she's gained a lot of weight, and she hasn't clearly paid her rent, and she goes to a psych ward where she is obsessed over Madeline Ashton and getting revenge. She wants so badly to destroy Madeline Ashton. And when they are in the group session, they say, well, is there anything that you would like to talk about? And she says, Madeline Ashton, which sends all of the other people in the psych ward even further in their lunacy. But the doctor makes one key mistake and says that she needs to destroy her from her mind. She's, wait, what? Yes, that's exactly what I need to do. Yes, you are right. I need to eliminate her. So cut again, another time leap to 1991 or 92 when it was released, but present day Los Angeles. And Madeline Ashton is now an aged out actress who has not worked in a great many years. And because of her sort of obsession and her cruelty to Dr. Ernest Manville, he is no longer a plastic surgeon. She has taken this brilliant doctor and turned him into a mortician who drinks himself to death. Not literally, but almost. And they are then invited to this book club about what was the name of the book? It was something about
Forever Young.
Forever Young. So they're expecting for this Helen to be this rotund, frumpy woman, and out steps Jessica Rabbit. Yes, Zemeckis did both films. Anyway, out steps Jessica Rabbit, and it is Helen, who is now gorgeous, just gorgeous, head to toe, beautiful dress, and she looks like she's in her 20s. And nobody can understand, well, how can she be 50? And what is her secret? And how can she do this? So it turns out that a plot is hatched. And in this plot, Helen has gone back to Dr. Ernest Manville and has sort of seduced him as a way to get back at her old friend. And the plot happens here is that you find out that they both taken the secret potion, Isabella Rossellini, secret potion, elixir of life, reincarnation, all of this. And then, of course, they end up by being dead. One falls down the stairs, one has an accident with a weapon, and they are both miracles, but they're dead. And they fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. And then they find out that Ernest is going to go away. But they convince him, no, you have to take this potion, but he doesn't want to be convinced. He doesn't want to say, he stayed as long as he can to keep them, well, just to keep them, because they're dead. And they need continual patching and spray paint and body filler, and because, again, they're dead. And then it cuts again to, they think that this Dr. Manville is going to die because he's gone to this castle. He's going to fall in through the glass ceiling, and they're telling him, you have to drink it. You have to drink it. And he doesn't. He drops the potion. He falls through into the pool. He survives. It jumps to the funeral of Dr. Ernest Manville sometime in the future, when he had been an aged man, and the person giving the eulogy extols the virtues of how that Dr. Ernest Manville, at 50 years of age, changed his life around and, like a biblical patriarch, had spread the joys to his own family and to his adopted family. And no one forgets how that he would tell the tall tales of the living dead in Los Angeles. And then as they are laughing, the girls are fighting. They can't find the spray paint because they're looking for this certain color of spray paint, and they can't find it. It's not in the bag. And as they go to head towards the car, they say that the eulogizer says, if that's a word, he says, and in this way, Dr. Ernest Manville has really attained eternal life. And of course they laugh, they walk out of the church, and then they fight. They fall down the stairs again, and they break into 1,000 bits because now they are animated corpses, and they're full of Bondo and spray paint, and their heads roll together. Well, did you forget where you parked the car? The end. That's the end.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you. The movie in a nutshell. Thank you very much, Richard-Lael. So, in case anyone wants a little more information on the movie, Heather, our beautiful Heather, our expert on such things, do you have 5 things that we do need to know about this movie?
I do have a few things that are kind of fun. First, of course, the context, and then we'll talk a little bit about the director, which Richard-Lael mentioned. The cast, of course, we got some good ones in here. And then we'll talk about why it won an Academy Award, and then a little bit of a surprise that was especially for Courtney, but she's not here, so hopefully she's listening or will tune in. So first one, context. This is 1992. It was released in 1992 in July. Of course, filmed in 91. Why is that important? This, of course, is a satanic panic movie. We talk about that a lot around here. And there was, again, if you've watched shows in the past here with us, you'll know what the satanic panic is. But specifically during this period of time, there were a number of sort of darker comedy or comedy some true comedy, some darker comedy that had some kind of an occult twist to them. And we've done a few of them. One was Love at Stake. Another one would be now 4 Rooms. The first episode of 4 Rooms had one. We've done a few others. And that there was this sort of, the occult kind of ran through different genres, and there were a number of them. And this one sort of fits in, even though it's not explicitly witchcraft like we saw in Love at Stake, it still fits. It still fits into that. This is definitely has an occult theme here, and I'll get to that in maybe later. Because I have an interesting take on that I will share later. So the director, Rod, I can't talk tonight. It is the 1st of the year, isn't it? Robert Zemeckis. This was it was his heyday at this point. Okay, so everything he did, starting with I think his first one was Romancing the Stone, I believe, is his first big hit. But he did Romancing the Stone in the 80s. He did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Rabbit, Back to the Future.
Which is funny. There's a point in that one too, but I'll
you'll get to it. But yeah, I mean, everything. He did all the Back to the Futures. He did Contact in the 90s. I'm just throwing out some other ones that you might know. He actually co-wrote 1941, which I did not know, which is a Spielberg movie from the late 70s. I believe it's 78, 1941. He also he also worked in Amazing Stories. If anybody remembers Amazing Stories, another Spielberg project from that time. He actually more recently directed The Witches 2020 version. More recently, also, we saw him do Polar Express, Castaway in 2000. So he worked with Tom Hanks. He worked with Spielberg. If you watch enough of his films, you can really see the themes and the style. He has a very Hollywood 80s style that, I don't know, that's the way I see it, sort of like Spielberg. It's a similar type of style, but very successful. Lots of other films. Those are just a few. And I think so that's notable because some of the actors and actresses that you see in these films are similar. They worked with him. So let's see, we have Meryl Streep, of course. A lot of these actors were in their heyday and very well known. So this cast, great director, well-known cast. Meryl Streep, who is, I think, the winningest or the most nominated actress of Academy Awards. She's won 3. She's been in everything. If I have to list out, we'll be here all night. Of course, I have to mention she was in Into the Woods because that's a witch and it's a musical. So I have to mention that. Also, Mamma Mia, and everything from Devil Wears Prada to Bridges of Madison County. She was brilliant in that. She's brilliant in everything. I'm just going to say that. Goldie Hawn, of course, also well known at the time, not quite as winning Academy Award winner, but a household name. She is the mother of Kate Hudson. She's a longtime partner of Kurt Russell. If you didn't know that, she was at that point known for things like Overboard and Private Benjamin. Lots of stuff. She was very well known at that point too. Popular. Bruce Willis, of course, just beginning his career really in the 80s. He came on the scene in the TV show Moonlighting was when he kind of hit for comedy, but then he went to eventually going to the most popular Christmas movie there is Die Hard, probably what he's most known for. Of course, I thought he was phenomenal in Unbreakable and Glass, the M. Night Shyamalan movies. So he's done everything from, comedy to serious to action. Of course, Sixth Sense. And unfortunately, we do have to mention that he is now retired because he is unfortunately and sadly suffering dementia. I have always enjoyed his acting in his movies, so that's really sad to see. So, of course, the other big name here is Isabella Rossellini. People not quite as well of a name probably as Meryl Streep and Bruce Willis. She is the daughter of Ingrid Bergman, who you might know from Casablanca, and Roberto Rossellini, a famous Italian director. She was a Lancôme model, so people who saw magazines at the time will recognize her face from that. She was in Blue Velvet. That's what I know her from also. She is in several other movies as well. She's not quite as prolific as an actress in movies as, again, Meryl Streep and Bruce Willis. Some other ones, Mary Ellen Trainor, you would have seen in Die Hard and other Zemeckis films, Goonies, Lethal Weapon, and you might have also noticed a few others. I do want to mention, there was one particular one that I wanted to mention. Let's see. You might have noticed Fabio in pass through, and also I thought it was interesting, and I didn't spot her though. I think she might have been in this Deborah Jo Rupp, who is
one of the crazies.
She was. That's who she was. She was so young, right?
Yeah.
I thought that's. I was like, wait a second. I think that's her. Yeah, she was one of them. So she was in there. So Deborah Jo Rupp is in Agatha all along. She's the green witch that they pull along, who's not really a witch. Well, I can't remember her name right now. Also,
Hart.
Jonathan Silverman was in it from Weekend at Bernie's from the 80s and 90s. He was in it somewhere at some point. So those are a few fun ones. And there were a few others, but there was a lot big cast. So that is the cast. Now it did win an Academy Award for special effects. Because of they used both computer generated stuff, they used practical effects, and there's some really funny stories. You can go through some articles and read about all the various things they did to make this happen. They had issues like, for example, Meryl Streep. She's allergic to a lot of makeup stuff, so they had to figure out how to get around the issues with her. There's some stories with that. They had one, if you saw the scene where she takes the medicine, Meryl Streep takes the medicine, and all of a sudden her body starts to lift. Well, there was apparently someone right behind her going like this, whoop, and pushing her up with the hand. So they have a lot of fun little stories. The stuff that made her large in that one scene, and when she is the cat lady, they had to actually create a new material for that. They called it Flubber Cast. And it was made specifically for this movie. There's a story about the way they did that too. I would just got lost in all of the phenomenal creative ways they did all of this, because there was computer animation 92, but this was the beginning of computer animation. So a lot of this was practical effects and blue screen stuff, and going back and adding heads on when they would, like do some of the filming, then they go back and put a head on of the actress. So it's a lot of interesting stories, but it won an Academy Award for these effects, for all of the hole in Goldie Hawn, and the flying bodies and all of the various things. So I thought that was really interesting. And the last thing, and unfortunately Courtney's not here for it because her reaction would have been fantastic, is there is actually a musical version on Broadway. I think I'm going to have that as I am going to have that as a point for every movie we do, I think, at this point. But it premiered in Chicago in 2024 and moved to Broadway in November of 24, and is actually doing really well. It gets really excellent reviews. And it stars actually Michelle Williams. Do you guys know who Michelle Williams is? She was in Oz the Great and Powerful. Mm-hmm. Blonde hair. She is in it. She plays Isabella Rossellini's character.
Lisa.
The casting seems weird. Chadley's going, what?
Because it's not you're conflating two different people. The actress who played.
Look up a woman of color.
It's not the same person.
Okay.
You're mixing up two different people.
Okay, I'm missing two different people up.
However, there is some interesting overlap with things that you guys have done recently, because the costume designer of the Broadway Death Becomes Her is Paul Tazwell, who also did the costumes for the Wicked film that just came out.
Oh, okay.
So it's same designer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sorry. I didn't see a picture, so I assumed it was the same as Shel Williams. But it is getting really good reviews.
It's the Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child.
Okay.
That's in the musical.
But I will tell you real quick, I have 3 friends who have seen it, and I spoke to them about it because I was curious how they do some of the effects, and I wanted to know so I could have something to talk about. That's not myself. And apparently the way that it was done, now it may have changed because they tend to evolve shows as they're getting them on their feet. But the way that they did it when it had opened was that they're not hiding that these are special effects. So, you know, she trips to the top of the stairs and freezes for a minute and then moves, and a stunt guy in a dress steps forward and takes her place and falls down the stairs comically, and then he gets up and walks out, and she walks out and lays down, and the scene continues. So like they're playing with it on Broadway, and apparently it's really, really effective.
Yeah.
Which I think is hysterical.
It's gotten, I mean, New York Times, all of the big reviewers have said it is really well done, and probably one of the best well done Broadway musicals made after a movie. So I'm looking forward to it. I was a little, nervous when I first saw it, but now I'm kind of looking forward to its run and seeing, we'll see.
I have a couple of more tidbits, if I may, because this is one of my favorite films. When the 2 ladies are fighting back and forth, when did you take it? And then Goldie Hawn's character, Helen, says, October 26th, 1985, which you might recognize from Back to the Future as the date that Marty McFly goes back to 1955.
Amazing.
Which is kind of funny. It makes me laugh. There are a couple of other things that the themes that it explores. It reminds me a little bit of The Portrait of Dorian Gray, where that one is sort of the caution tale as to what happens if you live and you watch people die and you are this wicked person. On the other hand, there is a contemporary opera by Janacek, 1926, which is one of my favorite operas. In this story, there is 300 years ago, 15 something, there was an alchemist who created a potion that he gave to his daughter that she would, in the words of Isabella Rossellini, sempre viva, live forever. But she takes it, and then she realizes that now Act 2 is 100 years later, and she's changed her name, and she's pursued the opera, and she's pursued being this diva. And then Act 3 is in 1926, contemporary to the time. And she starts realizing after 300 years that now she's started to age rapidly. And so she has to retake this potion, but she finds out that the potion is locked in a castle somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And the Duke says, oh, you want that old thing? Okay, well, I'll give you the potion, but we have to be intimate. And she's like, whatever, just get it over with. And while they're in the course of passion, he pulls off of her and he says, being with you is like being with a corpse. And so he just lets her have the potion. By this point, the feds, the states, or whoever, whatever they would be, have detected that there is something maybe to this potion, that maybe this woman who has changed her name, maybe she always keep the same initials, but maybe there might be something worth investigating here. Well, this woman has an ingenue. She has this assistant who admires this new prima donna of the stage, and she wants to be just like her. So the woman says, well, you know what? I really am tired. I can't keep this up anymore. So here's the potion. You take it, you take the elixir, you do with it what you will, take it. And then the young woman, she's charged with, do I take this potion, or do I watched my mistress suffer? And then she decides, no, this is not for me. And the feds are at the door, and as they burst in, she sets the thing on fire and the curtain falls. So in my mind, I think that Isabella Rossellini's character is actually that assistant, even though it is rumored that she actually is probably Cleopatra. She might be the goddess Isis in some of the other scenes that were deleted. She's much older than she is. I think that she might very well be. She might be Isis. Who knows?
Yeah, I love the whole her setup, her castle, the dogs, the beautiful men. That
Tom, Dick, Harry, make room for crying out loud. Oh, and keep you around.
Can I just say real quick that Richard-Lael and I spend many hours a day daydreaming, and every time we talk about what we would do if we won the lottery, it's not entirely dissimilar from Liesel's setup. And I think that's beautiful.
I think that's beautiful too. The dogs, right? No.
They're easier to control, that's for sure.
I love this movie. I remember when it came out because these were like my favorite people. Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep and Isabella Rossellini. I was one of those people who would go through the magazines looking at Isabella going, she is the most beautiful woman in the world that I've ever seen. So of course she's going to play that person. What better casting than that? Bruce Willis, I mean, I think he did really great. It's so funny though. I always think of him like a TV actor just because of Moonlighting. And Heather, you probably, I'm only half off topic here. When did it become, in olden days, a long time ago, you were a movie actor or a TV actor. You didn't cross. I remember talking to a dead Marlon Brando once. That sounds weird, and I wanted him to come onto like a TV show, and he was appalled, literally as weird as, because he doesn't do television. So you were a TV actor, the low life, or you were a movie actor. When did that change? That, famous TV actors do movies, and more than that, movie actors do, maybe when like Netflix came in or something. That
I think HBO is the one that first started to change it, because that's when you started to see the TV shows that were HBO's TV shows started to become really credible. They started to have a quality to them that exceeded what you normally saw. So I think I really think it started to cross over there. But yeah, I mean, through the 80s into the 90s, maybe Disney also broke some of that with teenagers going back and forth with their movies to their TV shows. So it started to, I think, in that generation, and then going into the 2000s, and of course streaming, and now not so much. But
it felt like if you were in TV, that's where you started, and then when you thought that you were like big time, you graduated to movies, right? Because you'd hear people leaving hit shows to go do movies. Like that was a step up back in the 80s and 90s.
The one that
right?
comes
And Bruce
to
Willis
mind
was
that
a TV,
so,
a TV guy.
Sorry
Bruce
to interrupt.
this is
first day of the year, none of us can talk.
Jason, I'm so sorry. You have to remember, I only think about myself. Do you want to go in the fridge?
Chad, go.
What I was going to say was the one that I remember that really sticks in my head was when Tim Allen was in the Santa Claus. And I remember on Entertainment Tonight and a couple other shows as a child, them like making such a big deal that he was, taking a hiatus from Home Improvement to go be in this Christmas movie. So like, I feel like the shift did kind of happen in the 90s of like TV to movie, which is weird because when I think of Bruce Willis, I think of him exclusively as a film actor.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it. I'll be quiet now.
The other break and the other break from that is Saturday Night Live. Because if you think about the early Saturday Night Live characters, they were doing movies very early on, and that's TV. But I think that's a different animal than what we're talking about. We're talking about like Cosby and Tim Allen and stuff like that. That was a rare thing. And I think I agree with Jason. Movie acting was considered a higher level of achievement to some degree.
Yeah.
Although not always the case, though. Some of TV actors were excellent, so and better than some film actors.
Yeah, like poor Shelley Long. I mean, she left to do movies, and we got True Beverly Hills out of the deal, right? She should have just stayed on Cheers. I mean, that was a terrible, bad move.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, death became her career.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shelley Long. I apologize.
I like, or what Tabitha said there in the chat room, that now the actors are doing commercials. I remember that actors, when I was doing the Hollywood thing years ago, actors would do commercials in foreign countries, but not here, or well famous, especially movie actors. You might see them, hawking, shave cream or food, but not in the US.
I have to say that for me, this film, it is so nostalgic because some of my happiest times were spent in Los Angeles, and even when it shows Mulholland Drive, I just love it. I there are so many beautiful things, and to see even all of the dead stars that are at Lisa's party, Elvis Presley popping up. You've got. She says one of her clients simply says, "I want to be alone." So it was kind of, to me, it was kind of a little nostalgic and a little sweet, and it was sort of nice to see some of the old time stars.
Yeah.
More than once, Richard-Lael would take me on drives in Mr. Satan, and we would go on Mulholland, and he would quote the movie without quoting the movie. It was, how many times have you ever seen a neighbor living in Los Angeles? Like,
well, the funny thing is, and I know Courtney's not here to do quotes, but every time I give a reading, every single time, and so few people actually get that I'm quoting this film, I will give the reading and I say, "And now a warning."
now a warning?
Right? Like, you get it. They go, what? And I go, "No, never mind. It's a film. But now we must talk about the sordid topic of the coin." And they go, oh. And I'm like, "No, you have to pay me." I'm quoting Jessica Cup. "You have to pay me. The cost is different for everyone."
You have to pay me.
You have to pay me. That is
Richard-Lael should come with subtitles.
Nobody gets that I'm quoting this now, 30-year-old film. And it's so good. Like some films you watch from 1991 and they have not aged well, but this one gets better and better and better. And I mean, I watch it all the time. I'm not kidding. I watch it all the time.
Oh, that makes me so happy. And I agree with you. I'm going to now watch it more often since it was lost and been forgotten to me. Going back just for one more moment, our beautiful producer, Love Boat and Fantasy Island were halfway houses for old school. My entry to Hollywood was being background on being a lava girl on Fantasy Island for a year, and then being a forever passenger on Love Boat. I got to meet amazing people like Charo. I mean, people did all these cameos. So that's right. That's when movie people were willing to do TV for Aaron Spelling. And it was very fun.
It was always great that Bob Denver got work back then, right? I mean, every week you could count him being on the Love Boat or on Fantasy Island.
Or the Muppets.
Yep, or Marsha Brady. Like, she was the other one, Maureen McCormick. Always, yes. Always did my young heart like joy to see them all.
I have a question for the dais. What is your favorite special effect in the movie?
Well, for me, I will tell you my favorite special effect. It has to be Goldie Hawn's big wound in the middle of her stomach. "I can see right through you." I think that one makes me laugh.
Yes, I agree. And when she sits down on the couch right through the big spear, it doesn't even matter.
Not just that, though. I mean, it was a lot like Jurassic Park because we had never seen these kind of special effects before. And I remember seeing this in a theater, like when it came out. And I was like, wow, I mean, I don't love the movie as much as some of you, but I just remember being. I'm not going to be curmudgeonly, but I
I don't
remember
care
like
if you
just
are.
being
I want to
wowed.
be honest.
I just remember being wowed by the special effects,
Mhm.
like I was wowed by Jurassic Park.
My favorite special effect was one that I actually could not see until I got it on Blu-ray and watched it on a HD TV, which is whenever you are shown the bottle of the potion, it has people in it.
It
Did
does?
you notice that?
No.
Mm-mm.
So next time you watch it, whenever there's a close-up of the bottle, or actually anytime you can see the potion, if you look carefully, there are people floating in it that are all naked, and they're all absolutely gorgeous, and and their hair is moving in slow motion, and so like a woman will appear and disappear, and then a man will appear and disappear, and they're swirling in the potion. And I never saw that when it was on TV, but then when I got it, like when I was able to watch it with like a super, a passable quality, there's people in the potion. And so I've always wondered if it's made out of them, or if it's just meant to be like the promise of what you could become if you drink it, or like what the mythos is.
I
But
don't think that they thought. I don't think they thought it out very far,
You
because
don't think so?
the original idea was that the potion was a demon named, and I'm not making this up, Bert. There was a demon named Bert. I know, it's ridiculous. And they also changed the ending because they were supposed to Ernest was supposed to get away. He was supposed to meet Tracy Ullman, who was a bartender. Years later, they end up by being happy. And it just so happens that Madeline and Helen are now these corpses, and they're sort of, well, what are we going to do now? I guess you want to go to Paris? No, I'm bored with that. Well, you want to go to London? No, I don't want to do that either. Well, what do you want to do? And then that's when they look down and they notice the elderly Ernest Menville and Tracy Ullman, and they're laughing and they're having a good time and they're playing. And then the audiences didn't like it. So they reshot all of those scenes so that they would die in the end with the things. And I'm glad also that they changed it from a demon that possesses them into the lore of the bottle, that elixir of life.
Or death.
Right.
Be kind to your body. It's going to be with you for a very long time.
So I do want to talk about the costumes real quick, if that's cool.
Yes.
Liesel's necklace is made out of the letter L. All the little gold thingies is the letter L in like calligraphic script with jewels hanging off of it, and it's just the letter L over and over and over and over and over. And I love that, because when she plucks a little L off of it to pin on Meryl Streep's chest, I love the idea that she's got this chandelier necklace that she just, parts bits and pieces off of. And her bizarre outfit when she comes running out of the house and she's like, you have to get him back with it, when she kicks them out of the cult, her with the collar and the 1920s headpiece. And it is a wild outfit.
There was another cut scene, by the by, where the creeper, who's sort of the medical facility, the man who introduces Lisa to Madeline. He was supposed to stand up, do these things. He was going to say things like, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be collection bins going about because we don't want to enforce payment. It really is beneath us. And for you Americans, we no longer accept the American dollar because of the state of affairs." So that was cut, but
Wow. Who knew?
I don't want to be immortal, but I do like the idea of being able to annoy people forever. So I'm kind of conflictory.
I saw this movie as a Faust story, so I didn't see this as a way of life or anything. I totally saw this as a Faustian pact, and Liesel as a devil figure in that story. And this is just the female version of it. Instead of looking for power and great glory that usually you see when men make the pact, you see women are making the pact with women are making the pact for eternal beauty and youth. And that idea to me parallels all my witch film theories, which when women are selling their soul to the devil for witchcraft, they're always looking for love and eternal beauty. The wig for Mrs. DeVry, the wig of Mrs. DeVry, I mean, I could name a whole bunch of them. Women are usually looking for eternal beauty and eternal power, eternal beauty and eternal youth when they sell their soul, usually for witchcraft for that purpose in these movies. And that's how I saw this. And that they aren't specifically looking for witchcraft. They're selling their soul, although they do not know that, because as you pointed out, what's the catch? Hold on a second. There's a catch. That's they're so desperate for revenge, for beauty, for eternal youth, whatever it is, because that means power for women. So that's what they want. That's what they go. And so this for me was the Faustian story for women, which is similar to a lot of these witchcraft.
There is an even deeper witch connection too, though. So apparently Death Becomes Her came about because Zemeckis was working on a film, or had worked on a film, where a husband had tried to kill his wife and she wouldn't die because she was a witch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that idea came about.
Yeah. And so I'm losing, it is January 1st. So I lost my train of thought there, but yeah. And he was brought on after it was written by, who's it written by? That had the idea. It was written by two people that had the idea, and he liked it, and he came on after, and they did it sort of backwards, he was saying, of bringing people on and all that stuff. So it did come about, and it's interesting to have that idea. And watching it, I'm like, yeah, I know we talk about Liesl being, we've talked about who she could be, Isis, she could be all this stuff. For me, she was very much the witch character. For me, the demon, not demon so much, but the devil witch character, she was the witch in this one.
She even says, a little bit of magic in a world obsessed with science.
Yeah, exactly. So she felt like the witch character to me in this. I would almost classify her as the witch, although it's more of the devil, Faustian devil that she plays. So she says she's 70. I'm not so sure about 70. She might just be saying she's 70. So, and I love the idea. I love this movie. I had forgotten how fun it is. It's corny as anything. I mean, the premise of it is so silly, and it could have gone so wrong in so many different directions, but it had just enough silly humor with some of Bruce Willis's lines that he has. Someone quoted one earlier, and some of his stuff that I was like, I forgot. This is fun. This is a fun movie. It could have gone so wrong, so bad. It could have been so bad, but it was not. So I definitely enjoyed it, and I enjoyed watching it again. And I even had my son with me watching it. It was funny. He's like, "What is this?" I was like, "Just watch."
I agree. And so LA or Hollywood, like Richard-Lael was saying, that, oh, that's home. That's where we are. And that's what we go for. And that's what is important in the parties and all that. So do we have, without our Courtney, does anybody have quotes? Did anybody want to be Courtney today? Or?
I mean, I've been quoting.
Yeah, I got a lot of quotes.
Are there, Richard-Lael, are there any other quotes that you say with regularity from this film without thinking about it?
Well, not really. I mean, I mostly quote Lisa because I just love her character.
I have a story about Richard-Lael.
Oh, yes.
There's a person that we used to travel in the same circles with who ended up being a venomous, malignant, traitorous human being who was smearing some very dear friends of ours, and then who was recently outed as a online predator of underage persons. And when I called Richard-Lael to let him know that this person had been outed, and because of that outing had disappeared from the internet, Richard-Lael took a long sip from his tea and he said, "These are the moments that make life worth living."
I forgot about that.
So I hate to interrupt, but I swear it was tangential.
That is true. I do. I sometimes even subconsciously quote this film. It just makes me laugh, and this really is one of my go-to films. No matter how bad of a mood I am in, no matter what the world is like, I put it on, and then I can't help but laugh at this Faustian pact with these women, and it just is. It's so darned good, and I guess you know how I'm going to vote.
We do. So, all right. But before we vote, Jason, do we have a marvelous Mankey movie moment? Perhaps?
Not really like we normally do.
No.
It's a holiday week. It's tough for me. Also, it was hard to be funny after hearing the news in New Orleans this morning. However, I love the end of this movie, and it's something that has always stuck with me since I saw it for the first time. The idea of immortality being about how you live your life. And I always think of the Bruce Willis character and about a life well lived. And when I think about someone who lives a well life, I think about Richard-Lael, because he hits all of the marks that I think are important for a life well lived. Richard-Lael is always his authentic and true self. Nobody dresses better, but you know that when he speaks, it's coming from his heart. It's coming from a real place, and it's not all just an act. I think a life well lived means valuing your friends. And Richard-Lael, like I think our coven, we value each other and we're friends, but we're not just friends, because you should love your family in life, and that includes your chosen family. And a coven is definitely a chosen family. To live well is to have adventures. It's to not just sit on your hands. It's easy to say, hey, I'm good, like in the movie, at the end, I'm doing all of these fabulous things that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. But that's not what an adventure is. It can be just walking around your neighborhood, going to a park. It can be reading a book and escaping into that world. However you choose to do it, I think it's always important to have adventures. And it's also important to do the things that you love on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Like if you love Death Becomes Her and want to watch it every week, watch it every week, because that's great and it brings you joy. Of course, find awe and wonder in everything that you do. When you go outside, take a minute to look around, and if you see something beautiful, let your jaw drop and go, awe. And of course, we should always be kind to each other, something that is forgotten so much in our society. But I love the end of this movie, and it's always really stuck with me. I find the rest of it kind of slapsticky, and I don't love it as much. But the end of it, to me, is pretty powerful, how he lived his life, and he lived a full life. And that's what I want for everybody out there, is to live a full life. Yeah, that's it. It's not funny today. I'm in a maudlin mood, apparently. I don't know.
And he started that perfect life at 50, so it's never too late. That's
No, it's never too late.
another message that comes out of that
How
too.
old would you think I am?
32.
I was gonna say 32.
Great minds think alike and
32?
talk at the same time sometimes.
Yeah, constantly.
I am 71 years old.
On that note, and you don't look a day over 79.
It's true.
I meant to say 69.
I know. I do normally tell people that I am much older. So when I was younger, I told them that I was born 300 years before I actually was, and people were actually had this sort of query of, well, maybe he actually is that old. And the funniest thing is, the number one Googled thing about me, you go on and it'll ask, where does he live, or what. The number one Googled thing about me is, how old is Richard-Lael? Well, I am 71 years old.
Perfection. And happy birthday for one last time. All right, let's vote on this baby. And all of you guys out there in the chat room, we want that too. Death Becomes Her. Wands up, wands down.
Give me your hand.
Oh, he's got the knife. Good. Up, 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 up. All right. We are a rare unanimous, I believe. And everybody out, nobody has voted yet in our chat room. Are we on a big delay? Vote, you guys. Vote.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, Robert. Okay. Wands up, Tabitha. Oh, okay. We've got a theme going indeed. Wands up, Alyssa. Wands
There
up.
they are.
And now they're all jumping in. Up, up, up. Okay. So for those of you who didn't watch that yet, I suggest you watch it because it's got a unanimous wands up with all of us. And now next week's movie, it's going to be Jason's pick.
Because it's his birthday coming up.
Because Capricorns rule this show. Goats forever.
Goats forever. So what is going to be our movie, Jason?
We are watching Anchorman next week. Finally, we are watching Anchorman, and I am so excited. And I quote that movie like Richard-Lael quotes "Death Becomes Her,"
or its witty purposefulness.
Yeah.
So does my
Great.
partner Jason. Constantly Anchorman quotes all over the place in this house.
Great Odin's Raven. I mean, it has pagan moments in the film, quite clearly.
Quite clearly.
Quite
All right,
clearly.
so everybody watch Anchorman. So
I'm so looking forward to that synopsis next week.
We're in trouble.
I've never seen it. I really have never seen it. So you're in for a treat. Something new.
For sure.
That was the film I was in.
Ah, with Isabella Rossellini, yeah.
Yes.
beautiful.
You can see Isabella in the lower right-hand corner right there.
Is that you with the rose?
No, that is my friend Vlad.
Okay.
No, I played someone contemporary who was memorializing the passing of Valentino.
I have a quick little pagan connection involving Isabella Rossellini.
Okay.
If you guys are interested. The movie that I was introduced to her in is she plays Nimue in the NBC Merlin miniseries,
That's true.
rather beautifully, I might add. So she is no stranger to sort of the pagan mythos.
Beautiful. How's those shoes going, chat?
Boom. Bling.
Wow. Fast work, sir.
Well, it's the fumes. They really just work wonders.
And before we move on with anything that has coming up, now that we're almost able to talk, starting tomorrow, somebody mentioned me IMDb way back when, and then I forgot because we went somewhere else. I am on IMDb, but my Love Boat and Fantasy Island is not because I was an extra. Extras don't get that. So, but all my other stuff is on there. So, as is Richard-Lael, that's what we do. So, yeah, IMDb for that. But anyway, anybody have anything coming up that everybody needs to know about?
Jason's birthday is Saturday. If you're in the Bay Area, come and meet me at the Savvy Cellar Wine Bar in Mountain View. You will be my welcome guest, and I'll buy you a glass of wine.
Oh, good.
The
With
chances of that
every-
happening are low, but you really are invited. I love people.
But be careful. You might have hundreds of people show up, and then you would be out a lot of money.
I had 100 people show up for my birthday last year. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. And the bar charged me nothing. So I'm not worried about it. Because they love me too. I love being loved.
Well, that's
Sorry.
wonderful. Happy
I love
birthday.
being loved.
Number 71.
72.
All right. I'm going to be in the UK for anybody across the pond on the 12th doing a seance at Victor Wynn's Museum of Oddities and Curiosities. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to be at Hanover Tavern Paracon, which I think is in Ohio or in O State. I'm not quite sure getting that right. But PattiNegri.com. Find me, come join us. And everybody, tell everybody where they can get you. Chad, let's start with you.
You can find me on Instagram as Chad Hatter. You can find me on TikTok as Chad Hatter as well. And at the moment, that's it.
Okay, perfect. Richard
I'm so
Lamb.
good at this.
You're so good at that. We're all good at this today.
I'm really easy.
Yeah, you are.
I am the gentleman psychic. I am on Instagram, the Book of Faces. I'm on all social media excepting for I'm not on Twitter. I think they changed the name again. I'm not on that. You can find me. I'm easy. thegentlemanpsychic.com. I'm easy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we must say, everybody didn't notice his very Isabella Rossellini type necklace, very reminiscent of all that she wore in that film. All right, Heather.
Hi, I am at heathergreene.net. That's my website. My socials are there. I'm on the regular socials, Facebook and Blue Sky and Instagram and all the ones. Usually Heather Greene of some sort, 01 or something. You'll find me. Go to my website and you can get links to all of them. Nothing coming up this month.
Perfect. Thank you so much, because it's a new year. We are just starting. So you guys like us, follow us, tell your friends about the Movie Coven.
Jason.
Sorry, now that I have it in my hand, I want to do it all the time. I'm really sorry.
We all have our goats. You guys, you can now get your own Black Phillip or Bling Phillip or Black Phillip, Bling Phillip. You can't get these beautiful handmade outfits, though, because those are very special. We just get those from Heather. But go to mysterycontrol.com for t-shirts, quotes, shirts, sweaters, underwear, and, of course, Black Phillip. And an I Don't Mind It t-shirt. So come back next week. We have one more thing to do to end the night. 1, 2, 3. Yay!